Hey guys, I have been starting my new year off with starting to try and grind my own milled flour from home instead of just using the store-bought. Now, when I first started using einkorn flour several years back, I was just using it with my flour mill. I wasn't buying the all-purpose. I was just planning on getting the flour mill, getting my einkorn, and being able to buy my wheat berries in bulk so that I could save money. And yes, it absolutely helped the budget. But after a while, as I started putting more recipes out and creating more recipes, and I would have certain recipes I wanted to figure out, but they really didn't quite match with the whole grain flour. There were recipes like the biscuits that just did so much better when you use the all-purpose flour. There were recipes like the sourdough croissants that just aren't going to rise much at all if you use the whole wheat. Doesn't mean you can't do it, but they just look so much better and taste a little bit different when you use the all-purpose, right? And so I kind of got off on trying to figure out these certain recipes, and in the midst of that, I got off on my habit of grinding my own flour. So after a while, I found myself not milling as much, and then I began to be reminded of the nourishment that fresh milled flour gives. In fact, flour loses about 40% of its nutrition within that first 24 hours after it's been milled. That is so wild. And, okay, get this, up to 85% of lost nutrition after just a few days. After about 3 days, it loses that much of its nutrition. Fresh ground flour has exponentially more calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, potassium, B vitamins, and it also includes the fats that they go rancid very quickly if you leave them out. Now, I'd heard all this and I'd thought, now that's all great, but then I started hearing stories about people who their arthritis was gone, people who suddenly did not have their autoimmune disorder that they'd had for years. Several months of just milling their own flour and then using it right away. Now, I'm one who was on a paleo-style diet for several years before finding einkorn. And so, while I didn't believe grains were quote-unquote bad, I did believe that there were reasons people can't digest them well and absorb their nutrients. To me, when you start to see autoimmune disorders disappear with the inclusion of very fresh milled flour, that's a sign that more research needs to occur. I believe this could have to do with the first having detoxed the body so it was prepared to absorb nutrients a little bit better. The fact is, grains have been used as a main food source around cultures of the world for thousands of years, right? And so the fact that if we are not able to eat them and digest them and absorb them, it's indicating some kind of a problem, right? In fact, when flour milling became a job of a factory as opposed to the home and community in the early 1900s, sickness associated with nutritional deficiencies just started soaring. The United States government finally got these flour companies that had been formed to add in nutrients, and the problem was that they weren't as usable for our bodies as they are when they're natural. Today I'm working on a whole wheat honey sourdough sandwich bread. That's a mouthful. We've been using this in the cold weather. It's amazing to me that wheat flour has every vitamin the body needs except B12, vitamin A, vitamin C, and amino acid lysine, and some fatty acids. That's everything else is there, which is why bread is a staple throughout the world. I would not encourage people who have celiac disease to use this, but it really does make me wonder with the things that are happening for people who are trying to do freshly milled flour, and that is all that they're changing in their diets, and then suddenly things start to heal in their body. to me, that is really indicating something that we need to look at. So you can look a little bit more at the differences of einkorn and normal wheat. I talk about that. I talk about autoimmune disorders, and I talk about celiac in my other video, which I will post here if you are interested in looking at that. Because people ask, I use einkorn, and people ask especially if einkorn can be used by people with autoimmune disorders or celiac. And I do think that it's not just the flour, but it is this freshly ground. What is going on with the flour to make it accessible to your body? And then are there other things going on in your body that are going to stop its accessibility? So it is not a one size fits all. Like I said before, I am looking forward to the future of more research on this, of doctors understanding this a little bit more. I do believe that it is slowly going to come out. I'm working on this recipe, so check in the information box below and on the blog for the recipe. I may or may not have this recipe down there yet, but I will get it as soon as I can. And you know what? It will be in that information box below as soon as I have it up. So check there. I use egg white in this bread for the soft texture. The nice thing about the ancient grain einkorn is that you don't want to constantly knead it. You don't have to constantly knead it like you do other breads. In fact, you don't want to do this because it is better if you don't touch it as much as you do with normal wheat. The whole grain you want to just leave alone much more and let it do its own thing. Now, I do fold it at the beginning when I am first bringing things together. I allow it to sit for a few minutes. I believe that's called autolyze. And then I start folding it, and then I put it aside to let it rise for about 8 hours or so. And then I get it out and I go ahead and I fold it again. You definitely don't want to overwork this one. When I do fold it at the beginning and end of rising time, I flour the counter, but then I also use the trick of wetting my fingers. And this helps it not to get stickiness all over my hands, and it kind of stays together a lot better too. Try it, it works. One thing I really wanted to do in the new year was clean my mill. Since I got this mill, I've always just done a coarse grind at the end of my milling session to clean off the stones. But lately I've gotten more lazy with this, and I haven't been using my coarse ground flour like I should. I do have a video on ideas for using the coarse ground flour, but even so, I haven't been good at using it. So I was really wanting to actually clean the stones and see if I had a buildup. Turns out my non-mechanical mind did not help this task. I didn't find a buildup of grain, so happy about that. But there was a lot of flour built up around the machine. It gets in there, and guess what else? Bugs. Ew. We've had an infestation of stink bugs, ladybugs, and box elder beetles that come in the winter. And I had at least 3 bugs in my machine. So if you do decide to try and clean your Mockmill as I am, a couple of recommendations. First of all, have a second set of hands and eyes, so you both remember where the things go and you can get it back together with a little bit of help if needed, which I needed. Number 2 is watch a YouTube video showing where the pieces are and exactly what they look like, what they do, close up. I did not have a second set of hands, and a spring happened to fall into the motor area, so I tried to get it out and then I couldn't get it back. And then turning it upside down, I broke the outside part of the flour tube. Oh guys, I have a second set of hands that came after this, but it was too late at that point. I'd already broken it. It still works, but I do definitely need to replace that piece. So things I learned was even doing a little bit of the coarse grind at the end of my grinding was helpful. It was doing what it was supposed to be doing, and it was preventing the buildup on my mill. Yes, I do think it was a good idea to clean out the mill. I'm glad I did it, But it was also good to know that I don't have to worry so much about the flour really building up on the stones as long as I am doing, that 5 to 10 seconds at the end of milling my flour, just doing a coarse grind. So what are you making this time of year? Are you guys using your flour mills if you have one? Have you thought about getting a flour mill? I would love to hear what you guys have heard about fresh milled flour lately, what you guys are making if you are using your flour mills. And I will also put some other information on fresh milled flour in the box below. Hope you guys are having a great January and you are staying warm if you are in a cold area. Hope that this winter is just being a cozy time for you. And I will talk to you guys again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.